Hey Night Owls, welcome back to Boring History for Sleep. If this is your first voyage with us, go ahead and tap that like button and subscribe. Only if you dare to don 25 kilograms of steel under a moonless sky. I'm curious. Where are you tuning in from tonight? And what time is it on your clock? Are you settling in after dinner? Or just rising to greet the dark hours? Make yourself comfortable, grab a warm blanket, light a candle or lantern, and slip into something cozy. Tonight, we slip into the midnight watch of medieval nights, tracing every silent patrol, aching step, and whispered command beneath castle ramparts. Make sure you are comfortable and warm, gently closing your eyes if you wish. Take a slow, deep breath, letting the cares of the day fall away. Inhale the promise of rest. Exhale any lingering worry. Now, imagine a gentle twilight settling over rolling green hills in a faraway time. The long day is coming to an end in the medieval countryside. The sun is low on the horizon, casting a final golden glow over fields and thatched cottages. In a pasture nearby, a shepherd is guiding his sheep back toward their pen, and a farmer leads an old horse down the lane to the stable. From a cottage chimney, a thin wisp of smoke curls upward as supper simmers over the hearth. Shadows stretch softly across the land as a cool blue dusk gathers in the valleys. In the distance, atop a hill, the silhouette of a stone castle stands watch over the quiet hamlets below. At the foot of its walls, the village is growing tranquil, one by one. Golden lights speckle the dimming scene as candles and lanterns are lit in the windows of humble homes. The sky above fades from rosy amber to deep indigo, and the first stars appear, like tiny beacons being lit in the heavens. A faint silver crescent moon peeks out, its light shimmering on a gentle stream that winds through darkening meadows. In this journey, nothing rushes. The pace is unhurried and calm, like a soft footstep on a mossy path. The world around you is bathed in hushed colors as day gives way to night. You might hear the distant toll of a chapel bell, a peaceful echo across the hills, or the whisper of a breeze through the trees. Perhaps there is the soft chirr of crickets hidden in the grass, or an owl letting out a mellow hoot from a far-off oak. You might catch the faint scent of wood smoke from cottage chimneys or the sweetness of wildflowers closing for the night. All is calm. All is safe under the first evening stars. Allow your imagination to paint these scenes slowly. Feel the weight of a wool cloak around your shoulders, keeping out the evening chill. Picture a small lantern in your hand, its warm glow guiding your steps along an old dirt road. The air is fresh and cool on your face, carrying the earthy perfume of moss and dew. A gentle mist is rising from the grass, and the stones of the path are cool under your leather shoes. You take slow, measured steps forward, hear the faint crunch of gravel beneath your boots and the soft rustle of your cloak brushing against your legs. Above, the sky grows darker and the stars brighten, blinking awake one after another in the twilight. As darkness gently deepens, your journey begins. Imagine yourself as a traveler from long ago, setting out under the emerging stars. You walk at an easy pace down the ancient road, free to roam wherever curiosity leads, unhurried and safe. We will explore quiet castle courtyards lit by flickering torches, walk down cobblestone lanes in sleepy villages, and venture into ancient forests beneath whispering trees. We will visit a monastery where monks chant by candlelight, and rest by a crackling tavern hearth as old stories are told in hushed tones. With each step, the hour grows later, the world becomes more hushed, and you feel more at ease. So settle in and get cozy. Let the imagery wash over you in a soothing, rhythmic flow. The journey from dusk to midnight is about to begin, carrying you through a tapestry of medieval night. Every sound will be gentle, every sight softened by darkness. Let yourself drift with the story, knowing there is no goal except peace. Our first stop awaits, as the sun finally slips below the horizon behind ancient stone walls. The gentle darkness invites us onward. Let us begin by walking toward the warm glow of torches at the castle gate. You find yourself nearing the great stone walls of the castle as night falls fully around you. The path beneath your feet turns from dirt to cobblestone as it approaches the fortress. Up above, the last glow of twilight clings to the sky, outlining the castle's towers in a dusky purple silhouette. A few torches flicker to life atop the battlements, their flames dancing gently in the growing dark. Their golden light shimmers on the surface of the moat that surrounds the stronghold, rippling with each quiet breeze. The moat's water is smooth and dark, reflecting both the torchlight and the first stars now sprinkled across the night sky. A wooden drawbridge spans the moat, lowered to welcome late travelers such as yourself. As you step onto its sturdy planks, they creak softly under your gentle footfall. The scent of cool water and damp stone rises from below. On the far side of the bridge, the tall oak gates of the castle stand open, just enough for you to pass through. They are bound with black iron bands and studded with heavy rivets. An old lantern hangs by the gate, swaying ever so slightly and casting a warm glow on the archway's ancient stones. A castle guard in a worn woolen cloak nods to you in greeting, his eyes friendly but growing tired at the end of a long day. He holds a small lantern that illuminates his weathered face as he offers a quiet, "Good eve," before slowly beginning to swing the gate, closed for the night behind you. Walking into the outer courtyard, you notice how the sounds of the outside world fall away, replaced by a profound stillness. The courtyard is paved with uneven stones that have been worn smooth by generations of feet. Along one wall, a line of torches and iron sconces crackle softly, lighting the way with a flickering orange glow. Their light dances on the stone walls and arched doorways leading deeper into the castle. You hear the soft echo of footsteps down a distant corridor, perhaps a servant finishing the day's last chores or a pair of guards making their final rounds. Their voices are low, almost whispers, muffled by the thick stone halls. High above, a banner emblazoned with the Lord's coat of arms hangs limp in the still night air, barely visible by the torchlight. In one corner of the courtyard, a stable hand is bedding down the horses for the night. You catch a glimpse of him brushing down a sleepy mare by the light of a small oil lamp hung on a post. The horse nickers quietly, a comforting, homely sound that echoes off the courtyard walls. Near the kitchen doorway, left slightly ajar, drifts the faint aroma of bread baked earlier in the day and the woodsy scent of smoke from the kitchen fire now reduced to embers. The mix of smells, warm bread, straw, and soot, gives the evening air a rustic softness. You take a moment to absorb the atmosphere. The castle that was likely bustling at midday is now hushed and at peace. The stones underfoot feel cool and solid. When you gently run your fingertips along the wall beside you, the surface is rough and cold, speckled with lichen that has grown in the tiny cracks over centuries. Above you, the castle's tallest tower cuts into the night sky, its banner hanging limp in the still air. Between the crenellations of the battlements, you can see a scatter of stars glittering like diamonds on black velvet. A lone sentry carrying a lantern walks along the wall high above. His tiny light moves slowly, and now and then you hear the faint clink of his armor echo down to the courtyard. He pauses to gaze over the silent lands, perhaps checking that all remains peaceful. In that moment, it seems he too is admiring the same starry heavens that stretch above you both, drawing comfort from the eternal constellations. From somewhere by the moat, a slow, resonant croak of a frog sounds, and then falls quiet. The castle night is truly at rest. Before long, you find yourself at the inner side of the main gate once more, ready to continue on your journey. The guard has finished his duties, and with a final creak, the heavy wooden gates close behind you. The faint thud of the doors settling into place resonates through the stone. Standing just outside the castle now, you look back at the mighty fortress. The towers and battlements are aglow here and there with torchlight, shining like gentle stars against the dark outline of stone. A lone bell high in the castle's chapel tower chimes the hour, a mellow, reassuring note that drifts across the night. Ahead of you, the road continues onward, curving down from the hilltop castle toward a village whose lights beckon warmly in the distance. You step forward from the castle gates, leaving the peaceful stronghold behind. The night is young and quiet, and the gentle path downhill will lead you to the village resting below, where faint laughter and hearth glow await. With one last glance at the serene castle walls, you proceed down the moonlit road, onwards into the heart of the sleeping village. The road carries you gently downhill into a small village nestled at the foot of the castle's hill. A handful of timber-framed cottages line the narrow lane, their whitewashed walls and thatched roofs tinted blue in the starlight. Many of the homes are already dark, their occupants retired for the night, but a few still glimmer with warm lantern light. As you approach the first house, you notice golden firelight flickering out through the cracks in its wooden shutters. The quiet murmur of voices drifts from within, a family sharing a few last words before sleep. From another cottage comes the soft melody of a lullaby being hummed, a mother soothing her child to rest. The gentle tune mingles with the night air, as tender and familiar as the smell of supper lingering in the breeze. A little further down the lane, the village inn stands with its doors slightly ajar, a wedge of orange glow spilling onto the moonlit road. Through one of its windows, you catch a glimpse of a few townsfolk gathered around the hearth. Their figures are silhouettes dancing slowly as the fire inside crackles. You hear a low murmur of laughter, warm and subdued, as if someone has just told a fond joke to close the day. The innkeeper steps out briefly to shake out a cloth. He sees you and raises a hand in a polite wave. "Good evening to ye," he calls softly across the way, careful not to disturb the sleeping neighbors. You return a smile and a nod, feeling the friendliness of this little community. The innkeeper's old hound wanders onto the doorstep, yawning and stretching before settling back down by the threshold. Walking further, you pass by a small village square, really just an open space where the lanes meet. At its center stands a weathered stone well. A wrought iron lantern hangs on a post beside it, swaying gently and casting patterned shadows on the cobblestones. The water in the half-filled bucket by the well reflects the lantern's light with a dim shimmer. Next to the well, a wooden cart filled with hay stands idle, left ready for the morning's chores. The scent of hay and the faint sweetness of dried summer herbs stored in the cart drift into the cool air. On the far side of the square is a tiny chapel made of gray stone. By day it serves as the village church, though at this hour its single stained glass window is dark. As you quietly walk past, you notice the door is closed and latched for the night. In an alcove by the chapel's door, a small statue of a saint watches over the village. Someone has left a little beeswax candle at its base, and its flame flickers bravely in the darkness, sending soft shadows dancing along the chapel wall. The gentle smell of melting wax mixes with the night's dewy freshness. As you continue along the main lane, you tread softly on the old cobblestones to avoid waking anyone. Your path takes you past the village smithy, closed up tight for the night. Through the open forge window, you see a faint orange glow still pulsing in the embers of the hearth. The smell of wrought iron and burnt coal lingers on the air, a reminder of the day's labors now asleep. Above the smithy's door hangs a lucky horseshoe, dark with soot, quietly guarding the workshop until morning. Not far away, a stable adjoins a cottage. Inside, a heavy draft horse shifts on its bedding with a low snuffle. You hear the soft clop of a hoof against the stall's wood and the contented sigh of the creature settling back into slumber. The sweet fragrance of hay wafts out from the open stable door, mingling with the night breeze. Every so often, a cool breeze rustles through the eaves and stirs the smell of wood smoke from the chimneys. You take in the comforting sense of oak logs burning down and a lingering whiff of spiced broth that must have been supper earlier. The village smells of hearth fires and home. It feels safe here, a tiny world where everyone is tucked in tight and accounted for. Your presence is a gentle visitor in their midst, passing by like a friendly ghost in the night. At the edge of the village, where the last cottage's garden ends, the road narrows and turns to dirt once more. Ahead, it leads into a grove of tall, old trees standing guard at the entrance to a forest. The warm glow of the village falls away behind you, and the path forward disappears into deep shadow beneath the branches. From somewhere within the dark woods, you hear a chorus of crickets and the faint hoot of an owl, beckoning you onward. Gathering your cloak a little tighter against the night's growing chill, you step under the canopy of leaves, leaving the cozy village lanterns behind and venturing into the whispering forest beyond. Past the last cottages, you venture under the forest's eaves, where ancient trees stretch their branches over the path like a vaulted ceiling of a natural cathedral. The darkness deepens here, softened only by your lantern's glow and the silver of moonlight filtering between leaves. Tall oaks and beeches line the winding dirt road, their gnarled roots snaking across the ground. You hold up your lantern to illuminate the way, its gentle light revealing the rich textures of the woods, knots in the bark, patches of velvety moss on logs, and ferns that brush against your legs as you pass. The air is cooler and carries the deep, green scent of foliage and damp earth. With each step, fallen leaves and twigs crunch softly beneath your boots, the sound absorbed by the vast silence of the trees. As you journey further from the village, the quiet of the forest becomes profound and alive. You pause for a moment and let your lantern's flame dim, allowing your eyes to adjust to the starlight slipping through the canopy. In the near distance, you notice tiny flickers of light floating above the undergrowth, fireflies drifting lazily, their pale glow appearing and disappearing among the bushes like little earthbound stars. High in the treetops, an owl hoots again, its call echoing from one ancient oak to another. In response, a second owl answers from farther off, their voices carrying through the night like gentle guardians of the wood. The leaves overhead rustle with a faint breeze, creating a constant whispering that almost sounds like soft voices speaking in old, comforting language. It is as if the forest itself is conversing in hushed tones, telling age-old secrets to those who listen. Your path leads you over a small brook that cuts across the forest floor. The water runs clear over smooth stones, singing a quiet, bubbling song. You step carefully across on a few stepping stones, pausing midstream to enjoy the moment. The brook reflects fragments of moonlight and starlight, sparkling between the dark shapes of the stones. As you stand there, you notice the silhouette of a timid forest deer between the trees. It gazes at you with curious, shining eyes for a heartbeat before silently bounding away into the shadows. You smile at the encounter, feeling welcomed by the woodland creatures who accept your gentle presence. On the other side of the brook, you continue along the winding trail. The canopy above opens up in places, allowing columns of moonbeam to spill onto the forest floor in pale glowing pools. Stepping through one such silvery patch of light, you see your own shadow stretching ahead, long and delicate, joining the shadows of the trees. The nightingale, often shy during daylight, begins to sing its midnight song from a hidden perch nearby. A series of clear, melodious notes drifts through the night air, each phrase rising and falling in soothing tones. The nightingale's song mingles with the trickle of the brook and the faint sigh of the wind, creating a gentle lullaby of the wild. Now and then, you pass beneath the arches of ancient trees that have stood for centuries. Their massive trunks are wrapped in ivy, and here and there you glimpse carved symbols on the bark, perhaps left by travelers or pilgrims long ago as prayers for safe passage. In a mossy nook beside the path stands a simple wooden cross, weathered by time. A small offering of wildflowers lies at its base, placed by some kind soul. You bow your head slightly in respect as you walk by, feeling the sanctity of this place where nature and faith quietly meet. A little further on, at a bend in the path, you catch sight of a small fox emerging cautiously from the undergrowth. The creature's pointed ears swivel toward you as it sniffs the air. For a heartbeat, it stands still in your lantern's glow, its eyes shining emerald green as they meet yours. Then, with a silent turn, the fox slips back among the ferns and disappears as mysteriously as it appeared, a quiet, untamed spirit of the woods continuing its nocturnal patrol. Deeper into the forest you go, yet you feel no fear. The woods around you are peaceful, as if they recognize you as a friend. Your lantern casts a friendly circle of light that moves with you, and beyond its reach the darkness is soft, not menacing. Occasionally, the far-off snap of a twig or the rustle of a small creature in the brush reminds you that you are not alone, but nothing startles or alarms you. Each sound is part of the forest's nocturnal chorus, gentle and in harmony. As you round a bend, a subtle change comes to the air. The breeze carries a new sound, so faint at first that it seems like part of the wind. You still your steps and listen intently. There it is, the distant echo of voices singing together in harmony. The melody is low and steady, rising and falling like a slow breath. It's hard to tell from how far it comes, but you sense it ahead of you, further along the path. A serene chant is threading through the trees. Monks, somewhere beyond the forest, must be at their evening prayer, and their gentle song carries through the night. Drawn by those sacred notes, you follow the path as it gently climbs a low hill. The trees begin to thin, and between their trunks you see a soft golden glow. With quiet anticipation, you realize you are approaching a place of refuge and light within the darkness of the woods, the monastery that waits ahead. At last, the forest opens into a clearing on the hillside, revealing a small stone monastery nestled in the embrace of the woods. Soft golden light spills from an arched window of the chapel, illuminating the herb garden and footpath in front of it with a gentle glow. You approach quietly, stepping through a low wooden gate in a moss-covered stone wall that surrounds the abbey grounds. The gate gives a mild creak, but the sound is lost beneath the ethereal music of voices echoing from within the chapel. The monks' chant, which you first heard as a distant murmur in the forest, is clearer now, a soothing blend of low and high voices resonating together in Latin prayer. The melody is slow and meditative, each phrase rising and falling like a calm breath, and it seems to harmonize with the very night itself. Drawn toward the open doors of the chapel, you move as silently as possible. The thick oak door stands ajar, allowing the polyphonic singing to wash over the courtyard. You peek inside and see the chapel's interior flickering with candlelight. Along a simple stone altar at the front, dozens of beeswax candles flicker and glow, their tiny flames reflecting in the polished wooden surfaces of the choir stalls. The air carries the faint sweetness of burning wax and a hint of incense, remnants of earlier prayers. Inside, a row of monks stand in their choir stalls, clad in humble dark robes with hoods gently draped down their backs. Their faces are peaceful and intent on their song. Some are elderly with long white beards, others younger with heads bowed. The sound of their Gregorian chant fills the high-vaulted chapel. The sound reverberates in gentle echoes from the stone columns and arches, as if the very architecture were singing in response. Each vaulted curve overhead carries the voices onward, blending them into a single, tranquil harmony that seems to float above you. Each note lingers in the air and echoes against the stone arches above. The Latin words are ancient, their meaning carried more in the feeling of devotion than in understanding each syllable. You catch the soft repetition of Amen and Kyrie eleison woven into the verses. Lord have mercy, Christ have mercy, the timeless supplication sung as it has been for centuries. You slip inside and quietly take a place near the back, standing in the shadows by a pillar. The stone floor is cool beneath your feet. A gentle calm envelopes you as you listen. The voices, intermingling in perfect unison, seem to resonate in your chest, easing any remaining travel weariness. The candles cast dancing patterns of light and shadow on the chapel's walls, illuminating faded frescoes of saints and apostles that smile down benevolently. In the semi-darkness of an alcove, you notice a simple wooden crucifix and a statue of a robed figure, perhaps Saint Benedict, the patron of these monks, watching over the assembly with a serene half-smile. The chant flows through several psalms and prayers. You don't know how long you stand there, as time feels suspended by the steady, calming rhythm of the singing. It could be minutes, or it could be much longer. You breathe slowly and deeply, matching the measured cadence of the monk's song. For a while, you close your eyes, letting the harmony wash over you. The combination of the low bass and clear treble voices is like a gentle ocean tide, rolling in and receding in waves of sound. Each pause for breath brings a hush that makes the subsequent notes even more poignant. Eventually, the chant reaches a final amen. The last note hangs in the air like a star suspended in twilight, then softly fades into silence. The monks bow their heads, and the chapel falls still. In the quiet that follows, you can hear the subtle night sounds from outside, a cricket chirping somewhere in the garden, the sigh of the wind through the open doorway. One of the elder monks steps forward and begins to speak a soft benediction in Latin, his voice gentle and warm, though you can only understand a few words like Dominus, Lord, and Pacem, peace. You feel the blessing in his tone more than in the words themselves, a kind of loving kindness that transcends language and flows through the hush of the chapel. After the final whispered prayer, the monks make the sign of peace to one another with bows and peaceful smiles. A couple of them glance toward where you stand. Rather than appearing surprised, they give small nods of welcome, as if travelers arriving at this late hour are not uncommon. As the brothers begin to file out of the chapel in silence, one monk carrying a lantern approaches you. He is a middle-aged man with kind eyes crinkling at the corners. Without a word, he gestures gently for you to follow, indicating that you are welcome here for the night. Grateful, you step back out into the courtyard under the stars, following the soft pool of light cast by the monk's lantern. The night has grown cooler and stiller. As you walk, the monk leads you toward one of the side buildings of the monastery, perhaps the guest house or the cloister, where a bit of warmth and rest might await. The monk's lantern guides you through a tranquil cloister, an open arcade that encircles a small courtyard garden. In the center of the garden, a simple fountain trickles softly, its water gleaming under the moonlight. You walk in silence beside your guide, your footsteps and his sandaled feet tapping lightly on the flagstones. The night air here is cool and carries the fragrance of rosemary and thyme from the herb beds. Above, the stars peek through the open roof of the cloister walk, and the stone arches cast long shadows that mingle with the lantern's glow. As you pass along the cloister, you notice one of the adjoining doors is slightly ajar, spilling a narrow band of warm light into the walkway. The monk pauses, following your gaze. With a gentle smile and a nod, he pushes the door open a bit wider, allowing you to peer inside. It is a small scriptorium, the monastery's writing room. Within, a single-aged monk sits at a wooden desk, illuminated by the soft radiance of an oil lamp and a pair of thick beeswax candles. He is hunched in concentration over an open parchment, quill in hand. From where you stand, you can just make out a gilded initial on the parchment catching the lamplight. It glimmers as the page is tilted, a tiny flash of gold that illuminates the careful handiwork before fading as he leans back over his work. The scene is like a living painting. The golden light, the monk's serene face, and the delicate manuscript before him. You step quietly into the doorway, careful not to startle the scribe at work. The room is cozy and lined with shelves holding rolled parchments and a few bound volumes. Bundles of quills and pots of ink are arranged neatly on a side table. The smell of ink, dust, and old paper permeates the air, a comforting, scholarly scent. The monk at the desk slowly draws the quill across the page, finishing a line of ornate script. With steady, patient strokes, he paints a small flourish on a capital letter in red and blue ink, completing the illumination of a paragraph. You can see that the manuscript is a religious text, perhaps a psalter or gospel, and the page is decorated with intricate vines and tiny figures in vibrant mineral pigments. This quiet labor of copying sacred words has likely been his evening ritual for many years. For a moment, the only sounds are the soft scratching of the quill and the faint crackle of the lamp's flame. In a corner of the scriptorium, a tabby cat is curled up on a stack of blank parchment sheets, its tail flicking lazily. The cat opens one eye as it senses your presence, then yawns and settles back into contented slumber, clearly at peace in this nocturnal sanctuary of learning. The writing monk finally sits back to stretch his shoulders and rolls his wrists, easing the stiffness of long work. As he does, he glances toward the door and notices you and your guide. Instead of surprise, his expression is gentle and welcoming. He offers a slow nod and a tired but genuine smile. The guiding monk speaks in a soft whisper, explaining your presence in just a few words. The scribe monk seems pleased, perhaps accustomed to occasional travelers finding solace here. Moving with deliberate care, he takes a blotting sand shaker and sprinkles fine sand over the fresh ink to dry it. Then he closes the ink pot and caps his quill, deciding that this is a good stopping point for the night. With a quiet familiarity, the two monks greet each other, a slight bow of heads. The scribe rises from his desk and picks up a small wicker basket on a shelf, from which he removes a round loaf of bread wrapped in cloth. Breaking off a piece, he hands it to your guide, who in turn offers it to you. The bread is dense and smells faintly of rye and herbs. You hadn't realized your hunger until just now. The simple gift of nourishment is a blessing. You thank them in a hushed tone, and as you take a bite, the rich, nutty flavor of the bread and a hint of rosemary fills your mouth. It's a taste of honest, humble sustenance that warms you from within. The scriptorium's lamplight flickers gently across the faces of the three of you as you share this quiet moment. No one speaks loudly. There is a mutual understanding that silence at this late hour is sacred. Instead, the monk's eyes convey their kindness. The older scribe reaches down to give the cat an affectionate pat before he picks up the lamp, ready to extinguish the lights and retire. Your guide touches your elbow lightly, indicating it's time to let the scribe rest. You take one last look at the peaceful chamber, the unfinished manuscript waiting patiently for the morrow, the quills and scrolls holding so much knowledge preserved through diligence and faith. It fills you with a deep sense of hope and continuity, that in places like these the light of wisdom is kept alive through even the darkest nights. Stepping back out into the cloister, the door to the scriptorium is gently closed, and the glow inside fades away. The guiding monk directs you further along the arcade to a modest guest quarters. Through another door, he shows you a small room with a simple bed, a woolen blanket, and a bowl of water for washing. Humble accommodations offered to travelers and pilgrims. You feel a wave of gratitude for the hospitality and consider resting here for the remainder of the night under the monastery's kindly protection. For a few minutes, you sit on the cot, savoring the tranquility. The stone walls of the room are cool, and the faint scent of incense seems to linger even here. You hear the distant sound of the chapel bell being rung softly, perhaps a signal that the monks are now officially retiring. The gentle gong echoes faintly through the halls. You lie back for a moment on the bed and close your eyes, breathing slowly and deeply. In the darkness behind your eyelids, images from your journey flicker by. The torchlit castle, the quiet village, the moonlit forest, and the candlelit chapel. They drift like pages of an illuminated manuscript turning in your memory. Though your body is at rest, your spirit still feels the pull of the night's journey. After a short while, you decide to continue onward, feeling surprisingly refreshed by the brief repose and the bread you've eaten. The night is not over yet, and some part of you yearns to see what other quiet wonders the darkness holds. Rising silently, you gather your cloak around you. The monks have long since slipped into their dormitory. You do not wish to disturb them. You leave a respectful bow of thanks in the direction of wherever they sleep, and then make your way back through the moonlit cloister alone. You let yourself out through the same small gate in the monastery wall that you entered, carefully lifting the latch and closing it behind you with barely a click. Outside the abbey grounds once more, you are greeted by the open night and the chorus of crickets in the surrounding fields. A vast expanse of sky stretches over you, the stars now at their midnight brilliance after the moon has set. Feeling peaceful and renewed, you set off along the road again, which now leads away from the sanctuary and towards rolling, open moorland and hills. Behind you, nestled in the trees, the monastery lies in darkness save for a single window where perhaps a monk keeps vigil or a candle is left burning in devotion. Ahead of you, the land opens up wide and mysterious. Pulling your cloak snug and holding your lantern aloft once more, you venture forth into the open countryside, eager to meet the next gentle adventure that the night will bring. Leaving the monastery's haven behind, you follow the road as it winds down into a gentle valley. The terrain here is kinder and more open. A patchwork of meadows and fallow fields lies under the starry sky, bordered by low dry stone walls. In the darkness, you can just make out the shapes of haystacks dotted across a pasture and the darker outline of a distant barn. The sweet scent of cut hay and clover still lingers from the day's work, now mingling with the cool moisture that settles over the grass at night. You walk quietly along the dirt lane, passing an orchard of gnarled fruit trees that stand in perfect silence, their leaves unmoving in the still air. A lone farm dog in the distance gives a single lazy bark and then settles down, as if even he knows that this is no time for alarm. All is well on this tranquil night. At the bottom of the valley, the lane meets a wide, calm river that flows eastward, its surface like a ribbon of black silk under the sky. A beautiful old stone bridge arches over the water, for sturdy spans of weathered stone constructed ages ago, perhaps by the ancestors of the villagers or wandering stonemasons of a bygone era. The bridge is just wide enough for a cart to pass, and is edged by a low parapet wall. Carved into the stones are faint patterns and a few almost erased symbols, crosses and circles that hint at blessings for travelers and memories of those who built this crossing. As you step onto the bridge, your footsteps echo softly against the stone, a gentle tap that fades into the night. Midway across the bridge, you pause and gaze out over the river. The water below is smooth and slow-moving, a perfect mirror for the heavens. In its glassy surface, you see countless stars reflected, a trembling map of the night sky scattered across the river's dark depth. It is as if a second sky lies beneath you. The phrase "river of stars" comes to mind. The Milky Way above and its twin below, converging at the horizon where mist hovers over the far banks. You lean on the cool stone parapet, inhaling the damp, earthy smell of the river. Now and again, a gentle current sends a shimmer through the stars and the reflection, winking as if the water itself carries the night's dreams downstream. Somewhere to your right, on the riverbank, there is a creaking sound and a light splash. Peering into the shadows, you discern the silhouette of an old watermill. Its wheel is still turning slowly with the river's flow, even though the mill and its workers rest at this hour. The wheel's wooden paddles break the water with a soft, rhythmic lap and groan, a lullaby of industry without purpose in the midnight hours. The sound is oddly comforting, a reminder that time and nature continue to move gently onward, even as humans pause to sleep. As you continue to the far side of the bridge, you notice tiny points of greenish glow along the riverbank, likely foxfire or clusters of glowworms in the reeds, glowing softly like earthbound stars. A bullfrog hidden among them croaks once, a deep, resonant sound that vibrates in the night air, then falls silent again. Crossing fully to the other side of the river, you step onto a lane flanked by wild hedgerows. The ascent from the valley begins here. The road gently climbs a hillside that grows more rugged with each step. The tended fields give way to untamed grass and heather as you gain elevation. Looking back for a moment, you see the valley behind you laid out in silver and shadow, the river shining, the pale smudge of the stone bridge, and beyond it the darker mass of woods where the monastery sleeps. The village farms are invisible in the darkness, but you imagine the farmhouse hearths all dark and the farmers and their families nestled in warm beds. You whisper a soft wish of goodwill toward them, a thank you in your heart for the safe passage through their lands. Turning again towards your path, you climb higher. The grasses at the roadside brush against your boots, damp with dew. Here and there, a weathered fence post or a broken gate stands as a last marker of civilization before the wilderness resumes. The road narrows to little more than a cart track, and the openness of the moorland beckons ahead. As you crest the rise, a gentle breeze returns, kissing your cheeks and carrying with it the faint, wild fragrance of heather and peat. Above, the canopy of stars is as brilliant as ever, yet the character of the night is subtly shifting. There is a new sense of expansiveness. You have left the sheltered valley and entered a wide, ancient moor where the sky meets the earth in a vast embrace. With the river valley now behind you, you stride onward onto the open moor, eager to see what quiet mysteries this high country holds in the still hours of the night. The landscape unfolds around you in gentle undulations, low hills and wide fields of heather and wild grass stretching as far as your eyes can see. Without the shelter of the forest or valley, the stars seem brighter and nearer now, scattered across the sky in a shimmering river of light. The Milky Way arches overhead in a glorious band, its countless stars like a dusting of diamonds on black velvet. You pause for a moment, marveling at the sheer scale of the heavens above the open moor. In the distance, a meteor silently streaks across the sky, a brief silver trail that vanishes as quickly as it appeared. You find yourself smiling at the wonder of it, feeling both small and profoundly connected to the wide world around you. The moor is quiet, but not empty of life. As you walk along the faint path that cuts through the heather, you hear the soft crunch of pebbles and earth beneath your boots and the whisper of the wind through the low shrubs. The breeze carries the subtle scent of peat and flowering heather, an earthy, sweet perfume that mingles with the crispness of dew forming on the grass. Now and then, a night bird calls in the distance, a lonely yet soothing sound that only accentuates the stillness. Perhaps it is a nightjar or some other creature of the heath, singing its nocturnal song to the stars. Your lantern is still in hand, but you find you hardly need it here. You lift it only occasionally when the path grows faint, its warm glow illuminating a circle of ground where pale wildflowers and tufts of grass nod gently in the breeze. For the most part, you let it hang by your side unlit, preferring to walk by starlight alone. The land itself provides guidance. A low stone wall runs alongside the path at times, half collapsed in places, marking ancient boundaries. You run your free hand along the top of the stones as you walk, feeling the cool, rough texture of lichen-covered rock. In one spot, you come across a cluster of standing stones set just off the road, weathered monoliths, remnants of some long-ago ritual or gathering place. They stand silently, silvered by starlight, watching over the moor. You step closer to them, curious. The tallest stone is twice your height and tilted with age. Moss and faint carvings adorn its base, spirals and crosses left by different hands across the ages, pagan and Christian symbols blending on the same ancient canvas. You rest your palm on the stone's surface and feel its quiet strength, the solidity of centuries grounded in this lonely place. Just as you resume your journey, a faint sound lifts on the breeze, a distant, solitary bell ringing out a single clear note. You stop in your tracks, listening intently. After a long pause, it comes again, a gentle tongue that rolls over the dark fields. The sound is hauntingly beautiful, and for a moment you wonder if you imagined it. There is no village in sight, no church tower or chapel visible in the dim horizon. The monastery lies far behind you, its modest bell tower now well out of earshot. Yet here, on the open moor, a bell seems to toll. The note fades, and an uncanny hush reclaims the night. A slight chill runs down your arms, not from fear exactly, but from the poignant mystery of it. You've heard tales and old travelers' lore of ghostly bells that sometimes ring across lonely lands, echoes of long-lost chapels or sunken villages. Rather than feeling frightened, you find the idea oddly comforting. Perhaps some benevolent spirit watches over these moors, marking the time so that even in solitude you are not alone. You carry on, heartened by the thought. The path leads you up a gentle rise. From this higher ground, you can see the contours of the moor rolling away under the starlight, patched here and there with silvery mist pooling in the hollows. Far to the north, on another hill, the skeletal outline of a ruined stone tower stands against the sky, its broken walls now home to nesting birds and wildflowers. You wonder if the bell you heard could have come from there in some bygone era, and for a moment you imagine how this landscape might have looked long ago. Perhaps there was once a chapel beside that tower, its bells summoning the faithful. Now only echoes remain, ringing out on special nights like a remembered song. With gentle steps, you descend the slope. Ahead in the distance, you notice a few scattered lights, tiny pinpricks of orange against the darkness. Your heart lifts at the sight, recognizing them as the welcoming windows of shelter. It seems you are coming upon another little hamlet or a lone roadside inn nestled amidst the moor. The idea of a friendly hearth and perhaps a warm drink by the fire enters your mind, and suddenly you realize how the long night's walk has made you pleasantly tired. The promise of resting your legs for a short while in good company sounds very inviting. With renewed, gentle purpose, you aim for the cluster of lights, leaving the wide, whispering more behind you as you seek out the source of that cozy glow ahead. The mysterious bell's echo still shivers pleasantly in your mind as you decide to take a small detour towards the silhouette of that ruined stone tower on the far hill. Something in its silent beckoning invites you, not out of fear or duty, but gentle curiosity. The moorland grass is springy under your feet as you leave the main road, following a faint footpath worn by shepherds or wanderers long ago. The path winds upward toward the dark shape of the ruin, guided by the light of the stars and your dim lantern. As you draw closer, the structure becomes clearer against the night sky. It is indeed the remains of a small chapel or watchtower perched on a low rise of land. Its stone walls are partly collapsed, and ivy has claimed much of it, weaving in and out of empty window frames and tumbling down the crumbled stones. An archway that once was the door still stands, surprisingly intact. You step through it reverently, as if entering a sacred place. Inside the ruin, the floor is carpeted with wild heather and moss. A gentle breeze flows through the open walls, bringing with it the faint scent of dew and peat. In the center of the roofless chapel stands a weathered stone altar, moss creeping up its sides. Perhaps this was indeed the lost chapel of St. Leonard that the innkeeper's tale spoke of, or perhaps it's even older, a tiny sanctuary abandoned to time. You run your fingers lightly over one of the stones. It feels cool and steady, unperturbed by the ages that have passed. Overhead, there is no ceiling but the stars. They gaze down like countless watchful candles, illuminating the space with a silvery glow. You can see that some of the fallen stones around you have been arranged by visitors into a rough bench or prayer circle. Clearly, you are not the first traveler to seek a moment of rest or reflection here. For a moment, you sit on one of the broad, flat stones that form a makeshift bench along the wall. The silence within the ruined chapel is profound, yet comforting. The same hush that you felt in the great cathedral to come, albeit humbler and open to the night. You close your eyes and listen. The breeze slips through the empty windows and arches, producing a soft, mournful note as it passes a small gap, almost like the very ghost of a bell. The sound is so quiet and so brief that you cannot be certain you really heard it. Yet it brings a smile to your lips. In your heart, you imagine that the old chapel knows a traveler has come and is offering a gentle welcome in its own language of wind and stone. Opening your eyes again, you take in the sight of the ruin one last time. In a corner, an owl that must have been roosting here glides out through a missing section of roof, its white wings nearly glowing as it flies into the night. The creature makes no sound, a silent guardian departing now that you have arrived. You feel a peaceful kinship with this lonely place, as if it has shared some of its secrets with you. With a soft whisper of thanks, to the saint who once was worshipped here, to the spirits of the moor, or simply to the night itself, you rise from the stone bench. It is time to continue on. Stepping out of the ivy-clad archway, you make your way back down the gentle slope to rejoin the road. In the distance, you now notice those same inviting pinpricks of light you saw earlier. The inn and its hamlet lie ahead, a haven of warmth amidst the vast moor. The ruined chapel behind you settles back into its eternal vigil under the stars. Carrying the tranquility of that sacred ruin in your heart, you walk on toward the cozy glow awaiting you. The welcoming glow of lamplight leads you to a quaint roadside inset just off the lonely moorland road. It is a snug, low-beamed building of stone and timber, with a thatched roof silvered by starlight. A wooden sign hanging above the door sways slightly in the night breeze, bearing the faded painted image of a lantern, fitting for a haven that guides travelers out of the dark. You push open the heavy oak door, and it swings inward with a friendly creak. Inside, you are greeted by a wave of warmth and the rich scents of smoldering logs, spiced ale, and stew. The taproom is small and cozy, illuminated by the reddish glow of a fire crackling in the large hearth at the far end. The plaster and timber walls are lit in flickering orange, and shadows dance among the low-ceiling beams blackened by countless winters of smoke. A few oil lamps mounted on the walls supplement the fire's glow, their flames steady and golden behind glass. At this late hour, the inn is quiet. Only a handful of souls remain awake here. By the hearth, an older couple of local villagers sit in sturdy chairs, their wrinkled faces serene as they doze side by side, warmed by the fire. At a nearby table, the innkeeper, a stout, amiable-looking man with rolled-up shirt sleeves, is quietly chatting with a traveling merchant over the last of the evening's ale. Their voices are low and murmuring, blending with the gentle pops of the fire. In a corner, a young maid wipes down the wooden counter, preparing the room for the night, while a ginger cat curls around her feet, purring in contentment. The innkeeper looks up as you enter and breaks into a welcoming smile. "Ah, traveler, come in, he says softly, careful not to rouse the dozing couple. "You're just in time. We were about to bank the fire, but there's warmth and a bit of supper yet, if you've a mind." He gestures to the hearth and quickly moves to fetch you a seat close to it. Gratefully, you settle into a cushioned stool that he offers. The merchant, a weathered man with kind eyes, nods a greeting in your direction. The maid brings a pewter tankard and pours you a small measure of warmed mead spiced with cinnamon and honey. The first sip is like liquid comfort, sweet on your tongue and gently warming all the way down. As you relax by the fire, you share a quiet conversation with the innkeeper and the merchant. They are curious where you've come from at such an hour, and you mention in a soft voice some of the places from your evening's journey: the village, the forest, the monastery. You describe, in humble terms, the serenity you've found and perhaps hint at the marvels, like the chanting of the monks and the mysterious bell on the moor. The two men listen with appreciative smiles, nodding as if they too know the simple magic of these nightly sights. In turn, the merchant recounts a pleasant memory of a distant abbey he once visited in his youth, where he had heard a midnight mass that moved him deeply. The innkeeper tops up everyone's cups with the last of the spiced mead, and the warmth of the drink and the fire brings a comfortable drowsiness to the little gathering. Eventually, your conversation drifts to the journey across the moor. You mention, almost dreamily, the strange bell you heard ringing out there in the dark. At this, the innkeeper's eyes twinkle with interest. He leans forward, elbows on his knees, lowering his voice. "So, you heard old St. Leonard's bell, did you?" he says in a half-whisper, as the merchant raises his eyebrows in recognition. The innkeeper continues, his tone friendly and conspiratorial, perfect for a late-night tale. He explains that long ago, on a knoll out in those moors, there stood a small chapel dedicated to St. Leonard. The villagers in these parts would go on pilgrimage there in times beyond memory. One stormy night, centuries past, a great tempest raged across the moor. Lightning struck the little chapel, and it burned to the ground, all save its bell, which tumbled into the marshy earth. They never rebuilt the chapel, the innkeeper murmurs, gazing into the fire as he speaks. But folks say the bell remains, and that sometimes on calm nights, it rings by itself. Some claim it tolls to guide lost travelers, or to remind us that sacred things never truly vanish. You feel a pleasant chill at the tale, picturing the lonely bell chiming under the stars. The innkeeper finishes the tale with a gentle pat on your shoulder. "You're safe now, my friend. Bell or no bell, these walls are stout and the fire is warm. You've had a long journey." He stands, taking an iron poker to nudge the logs and bank the fire for the night. Sparks flutter up the chimney as the flames settle into reddish embers, casting a softer glow around the room. The merchant drains the last of his ale and stretches, wishing you a good and peaceful night. He retires to a small room at the back, and the maid quietly slips away to her own quarters after hanging up her apron. The innkeeper offers to let you stay by the hearth until morning, or find you a bed if you prefer. You thank him for his kindness. For a little while longer, you remain in the common room, soaking in the cozy silence after the others have gone. The ginger cat hops into your lap uninvited, turns in a circle, and curls up, purring loudly. Its warmth and the rhythmic vibration of its purr lull you into a state of deep contentment. You lean back against the high back of the chair, eyes on the low glow of the embers, and allow yourself to rest completely. You linger by the hearth a while longer, the mantel clock ticking softly toward midnight. When it finally chimes 12, the sound is gentle and distant, marking the arrival of midnight in this peaceful refuge. With a fond glance at the cat sleeping on your lap, you gently lift the warm creature and set it down on the chair, then rise to your feet. Taking up the small candle left burning for you, you cast one last look around the cozy room. The low wooden beams, the red glow of the embers, the lingering scent of spiced mead and smoke. You whisper a silent thanks for the kindness here. Pulling your cloak around you, you quietly slip out into the night once more. The cool, fresh air greets you as you shut the door behind you with barely a click. Under the starry sky, all is still. You carry the warmth of the inn in your heart as you continue onward down the road. Not far ahead, around a gentle bend, you glimpse the silhouette of a town gate and, beyond it, a tall spire reaching into the night sky. That tranquil town, slumbering under the stars, will be the final stop on your midnight journey. As you approach the town gates, the stillness of midnight surrounds you. The large wooden doors are slightly ajar, unattended at this late hour, allowing you to slip easily into the sleeping town. A faint echo of a great bell's chime seems to linger in the cool air, perhaps the cathedral's bell tolling the midnight hour just moments ago. Now, all is silent once more. You pass under the stone arch of the gate and onto the cobbled streets of the town, your steps measured and soft so as not to disturb the profound quiet. The town's narrow lanes are deserted and peaceful. Tall, half-timbered houses line the way, their upper stories leaning out as if to whisper to one another. Their windows are dark, save for the occasional weak glow of an ember or candle left burning on a windowsill. You walk beneath wrought iron street lamps which stand cold and unlit. Now they simply catch the starlight on their glass panes. Your own lantern is shuttered to a mere glimmer, just enough to guide your feet. The gentle illumination plays over the cobblestones, which shine faintly from a touch of dew. In the distance, you notice a solitary figure, a night watchman draped in a cloak, making his round. He carries a small lantern that bobbles in the darkness. You hear the faint tap of his staff on the stones and the soft murmur of a familiar refrain. All's well, all's well, as he disappears down an alley. His reassurance echoes softly off the walls, then fades away, leaving the hush unbroken. Guided by an instinct for the heart of the town, you follow the main street, which slopes gently upward. Before long, the buildings around you fall away into an open square. Here, bathed in dim starlight, stands a grand cathedral, the culminating destination of your night's wanderings. Its towering spire reaches toward the heavens, and its great stone facade looms dark and beautiful against the sky. You stop in quiet awe at the edge of the square, taking in the sight. The cathedral's rose window, high above, catches a glint of starshine, its colored glass twinkling faintly with muted reds and blues. Flying buttresses arc gracefully along the sides of the church, and stone statues of saints and angels stand vigil in niches, their features softened by night's gentle veil. The square is empty and still. In the center, a modest fountain trickles with a silvery sound, the water's gentle flow one of the few audible signs of life. The scent of aged stone and lingering incense seems to emanate from the cathedral's great oak doors, which are closed but not locked. Feeling a pull of curiosity, you ascend a few steps and lay your hand on the carved wooden door. It yields to your touch, opening with only the slightest whisper of wood on stone. You step inside the entrance and find yourself in the vastness of the cathedral's nave, where darkness and silence reign. The air inside is cool and carries a faint aroma of wax and incense, remnants of the prayers and masses held here earlier. Far above, through the high arched windows, the stars peer in, casting slender beams of light that mingle with the glow of a few vigil candles still burning on a distant altar. Those tiny flames seem to float in the darkness, offering pinpoints of hope in the sacred gloom. You walk a few paces down the central aisle, your footsteps muffled by the great expanse of stone and the wooden pews flanking you on either side. The ceiling above disappears into shadow, but you sense its height and the cavernous space it encloses. Not wanting to disturb the sanctity, you find a wooden pew near the back and quietly sit down. As you settle, the pew offers a soft creak that briefly echoes through the nave before dissolving back into silence. The polished wood is smooth and cool beneath your fingers. In the silence, you can hear your own breath and the faintest echo of each small movement you make. You tilt your head back to gaze toward the unseen ceiling, imagining the ribbed vaults and arches soaring over you. Somewhere in that darkness, far above, you imagine the great bell that rang out the hour. In your mind's eye, you picture it hanging there, still and content now that its midnight song is sung. As you sit in the stillness, a deep peace envelopes you. This night has been long and filled with gentle wonders, and here, in the heart of this silent cathedral, it feels as though all the quiet beauty of your journey gathers around you like a comforting cloak. The flicker of the distant candles, the subtle scent of incense and old stone, the faint memory of music and bells, all of it blends into a symphony of tranquility. Your eyes grow heavy as you let your body relax fully for the first time since dusk. The bench supports you like a caring friend. You lean back and close your eyes, allowing the silence to wash over you. In the darkness behind your eyelids, you revisit the soft impressions of the journey. Torchlight on castle walls, lantern glow in a village window, moonbeams on forest moss, the echo of Gregorian chant, the firelit inn and its gentle tales. Each memory passes slowly, like pages turning in an illuminated manuscript, each one painted with the colors of night and calm. A faint smile comes to your lips. You have arrived at last at the midnight hour's sanctuary, a place where every gentle sound and sight of the evening seems to find its rest. Outside, the stars continue their silent vigil over the sleeping town. Inside, you feel sheltered by the centuries of faith and hope built into these walls. All the cares of the day have long since melted away. Only peace remains. In this safe and hallowed space, you allow yourself to drift. The journey from twilight to midnight is complete, and it has brought you to a profound stillness. Breathing deeply, you sink into the quiet bliss of the present moment. The last thing you hear as you begin to slip into sweet slumber is the soft, eternal hush of the cathedral, embracing you like a lullaby made of silence. Under the same stars that guided your solitary steps across silent moors, another world hums with purpose and duty. In the great hall of a stone keep, torches gutter low and long banners hang still as the night wind ravages battlements outside. Here, a gathering of knights stands at attention before their lord, a solemn assembly bound by honor, obligation, and the ancient bonds of fealty. You enter the hall quietly, drawing your cloak around you like a tide of midnight. The air smells of damp stone and melted tallow, with a faint trace of roasted meats cooling on long tables. The floor's flagstones are worn smooth by the countless polished boots that have trod this path. Knives and goblets lie idle, as bearers have cleared away last evening's supper. Now only the hush remains, broken by the low murmur of armored voices beneath the raised dais. The lord of the manor sits beneath his great, carved canopy. His helm rests on the table beside him, its visor open to reveal a stern yet compassionate face. In his hand, he holds a gilded sword, its blade catching torchlight as he taps it thrice on the floor, a traditional summons. The hall falls still. You see knights adjust their gauntlets, the soft creak of leather and mail a reminder of their burdens. Each man and woman here has sworn an oath to defend the castle, to ride to war at the beck of the banner, and to uphold justice within their lord's domain. Even when the world sleeps, the young squire kneels first. The lord takes his gauntlet hand and places it on the reins of a noble destrier standing nearby, a symbol of service accepted. "Rise, Sir Reynold," intones the lord, voice carrying like a distant bell. The new knight stands, stepping lightly in his fresh hauberk. His eyes shine with equal measures of pride and humility, for he has joined an ageless brotherhood that demands sacrifice even in the stillest hours. One by one, the assembled knights step forward. Each kneels, repeats solemn words of loyalty in a soft voice that echoes through the rafters, and receives the touch of the sword across his or her shoulder. In peace, I will keep your lands. In war, I will bear your banner. By my hand shall justice be done. Their voices merge into a single vow, as steadfast as the roots of the keep itself. After the oaths are made, the Lord raises his cup in silent salute. Servants move like shadows to fill goblets with dark red wine, a humble toast to bind them further. You join the line to receive a cup, feeling the weight of duty settle like a second cloak around your shoulders. The wine tastes sharp and earthy, as if the very soil of their lands has been pressed into it. When the last cup has passed, the torches dim further, and a hush of anticipation grips the hall. Outside, the castle's gatehouse creaks as a lone patrol emerges into the darkness. The patrolman's horn sounds 3 low notes, a signal that the night watch begins. Behind the thick walls, every knight will soon take turns riding the pitch-black ramparts, sword and lantern in hand, listening for the faintest stir of enemy and keeping the realm safe while its people sleep. You slip away from the hall, heading toward the battlements. Through a narrow arrow slit, you glimpse the world beyond. The pale moon rests on the horizon, and a thin mist drifts across the courtyard. In the distance, windmills on the hill creak like old bones, and the moat's water glitters under starlight. Your heart quickens at the thought of riding through that mist, sword at your side, cloak billowing like a dark sail on the battlement walk. Another knight stands guard. He nods to you as you join him. His lantern's glow reveals the crest on his shield, a silver falcon on a field of sable, and the polished rings of his hauberk. Without words, you exchange watch duties. He will finish his turn and return to rest. You will relieve him, pacing the stone curb of the wall until dawn's first pale light. The wind whips around the ramparts, tugging at capes and cloaks. Your breath clouds in the chill air as you lift your lantern to inspect the far wall. Every shadow seems alive, an owl perched on a merlin, a rat scuttling for cover, or some hidden watcher in distant reeds. You stand silent and still, every sense alert to the faintest crack or echo. Below, torches in the gatehouse flicker as the patrol returns. The gate's massive wooden beams groan on their hinges. Your companion knight steps down into the courtyard, and you step forward to take his place. His lantern is brighter. Yours is steadied to cast a narrow pool of warmth onto the gray stone. You walk the length of the battlements, the clang of spur on iron step punctuating the night. Each corner, each turret, each arrow loop offers another vantage point. You survey the silent fields beyond. Grazing sheep huddle under oak trees, their faint bleats lost in the wind. The distant lights of the village are just pinpoints now. The forest lies behind them like a dark sea. Time stretches infinitely in the hush of the watch. A distant bell tolls for vespers in a church you cannot see, its echo drifting over the ramparts. Your sword rests at your side, its leather-wrapped hilt cool under your gauntlet fingers. You test the balance with a gentle twist, the soft hiss of metal on leather the only sound you make. Minutes feel like hours, and hours like a single breath held then released. The sky shifts, deep indigo melting into pale slate near the eastern horizon. A glimmer of pink appears, dawn's promise. You adjust the lantern, lower it slightly, and begin the slow walk back toward the guardroom, boots whispering on the stone. Your replacement nods as you arrive. You hand over the lantern and grip the hilt of your sword in farewell. He bows his head, accepting the weight of the night in your stead. You descend the narrow stair back into the warm keep, the sound of your footsteps growing faint as you leave the ramparts behind. Inside the guardroom, bowls of porridge and trays of fresh bread await. You sit on a wooden bench, dipping coarse bread into the thin gruel. The warmth seeps into your belly, reviving you after the cold vigil. Other guards murmur quiet good mornings as they prepare to rest, trading tales of their own watches, of phantom lights on the wall or strange distant drums that heralded nothing. You linger only a moment before excusing yourself. The day's responsibilities will soon begin: inspections, training, counsel, but first you retreat to your chamber. There, you cast off gauntlets and helm, letting the chill of chainmail slip away. You hang your sword by the door, its blade still edged with dew. Pulling off your surcoat and loosening your leather belt, you step into a simple linen tunic and woolen breeches. Finally, you slip into your bed of straw and wool, tucking the covers around you. The window shuttered against the morning breeze. You lie on your back and close your eyes. In the gentle hush of the chamber, you feel the weight of the night's duty ease, and the promise of rest carries you towards sleep, the sleep of one who has kept the world safe under midnight skies. Under the pale light of a waning moon, you find yourself crouched among brambles on the outer slope of enemy walls. The night is as black as ink, save for a sliver of moon overhead and the ghostly glow of distant torches behind battlements. Every sound, each drip of dew, each rustle of leaf, feels amplified in the hush. This is the hour of shadows, when ladders slide forward without creak, and sieges unfold in whispers rather than roars. You inch closer, the soft leather of your boots absorbing the damp earth beneath. Your companions drift forward in single file, faces hidden beneath dark hoods. In your hand, the rope ladder is coiled tight, its wooden rungs oiled to silence the slide. Wet leather straps bind it, their faint musk mingling with the earthy scent of the moat. You steady your breathing, counting its rhythm against the distant drip of water from the battlements above the ATA signal. A single raised fist. You begin to uncoil the ladder. The first rung slides out and drops against the wall, muffled by a strip of wool tied along its edge. The stone is cold and slick, but the wool grips enough to hold as you test its weight. One by one, you pass the ladder's weight to your waiting comrade below, who braces it against the stones with firm hands. The ladder trembles slightly, then settles into place. You grasp the lowest rung, leather gloves protecting your hands from splinters, and ease one boot onto the wood. The first rasp of wood on stone is swallowed by the night. Inch by inch, you climb. Above, the wall's crest is just a dark edge against the sky. You feel the ladder sway ever so little, but your grip is sure. At the top, you hook a small iron spike beneath a crenellation and pivot to stand on the wall walk. Your blade whispers free from its scabbard, its edge catching a sliver of moonlight. Below, your companions slip through the narrow arrow slits, delivering soft taps on the inner walkway. 2 taps to warn of guards. 3 taps to signal clear passage. Inside, you find a narrow passage lined with rough stone. A faint scurry echoes ahead, a rat disturbed by your footsteps. You step over it, cloak swirling silently, and follow the others toward the gatehouse. Here lies the critical point of entry, the great wooden portcullis. You kneel by its side, revealing a small panel of ironwork, a spyhole large enough to accept your slender hands. You insert 2 metal picks, hardened and dark, and begin to work the lock. The internal mechanism is ancient, a labyrinth of levers and cams that click softly as you manipulate each pin. Sweat beads at your brow despite the chill. A final, muted snap, the lock yields. With a swift motion, you lift the panel and slip inside. The world beyond is a silent corridor, lit by 2 low-burning sconces. Their glow casts long shadows on the stone floor, painting strange shapes that flicker as your hooded figure passes. You slip the panel closed, locking it behind you, and release a soft whistle, your only signal for path clear. Further in, you come upon the armory. Racks of unused steel glint like specters. You pause to exchange armor for darkened leather, lighter, quieter, better suited for infiltration. The clang of chainmail and the creak of shoulder plates would betray you here. Instead, supple leather jerkins and muted iron studs will keep you silent. Each piece is chosen quickly and efficiently, the transformation a practiced rite. Finally, you reach a narrow stair descending into the courtyard. At the bottom, the gate lies open. The iron grills of the portcullis have been lifted, the drawbridge lowered, counterweights of stone and wood perfectly balanced. Outside, the siege engines stand idle, shadowy silhouettes of battering rams and siege towers looming like slumbering giants. Your leader steps forward and raises a gloved hand. At his nod, you slip past into the night, across the courtyard's cobblestones slick with dew. Somewhere a guard stirs in his quarters, but he does not venture out. The silent storm of your incursion holds him in place. In the distance, the moat's black water laps softly against the tower's base, and the great bell in the keep rings once, then falls silent. You and your companions fan out, moving like water through the castle's veins, through kitchens stacked with cold pans, past sleeping soldiers curled in bunks, and into the Lord's private chambers. There, on a low table, lies the map and the charter you came to seize. A pair of muffled footsteps approaches. You slip into the shadows, your heart pounding a steady rhythm, as 2 guards exit and the lantern's glow fades down the hallway. When the way is clear, you lift the parchment and the iron-bound chest containing forged seals. Carefully, you tuck them into your jerkin. Your prize secured, you retrace your steps. Portcullis lock, ladder, brambles, leaving no sign save the faintest scratch on the wall and the memory of a phantom's passage. Beyond the moat, the ladders are withdrawn, disappearing into the dark undergrowth as though they were never there. You and your companions vanish into the night, hearts still racing, as the first streaks of pale dawn blush the eastern sky. Behind you, the castle stirs at the gentle crack of day. Guards awaken to find their gates untouched, the charters gone, all evidence erased by the hush of your midnight raid. A pall of uneasy silence hangs over the village tonight, a hush heavier than any ordinary stillness. You step onto the empty street where shutters are tightly barred and torch sconces stand unlit. The moon, pale and wan, casts long, ghostly shadows across the cobblestones. This night is different. Rumor drifts on the wind that a sickness unlike any other creeps across the land. The Black Death, they whisper, is at the door. You draw your cloak about you and make your way to the churchyard. Lantern in hand, you pass gnarled crosses and worn gravestones that lean like tired sentries. The air smells faintly of herbs, wormwood, rue, and juniper boughs hung in doorways to ward off the pestilence. Each cottage door you pass bears a spray of herbs, tied with twine, their leaves slightly browned by autumn winds. A hush presses on your ears. No dogs bark, no night birds call. Even the breeze seems to tiptoe at the church gate. 2 grave diggers stand beneath the belfry, spades in hand, their faces drawn and hollow. They shake your hand in greeting, fingers stiff with cold or fear, you cannot tell. One nods toward the open cemetery. We keep watch here until dawn. If the sick should rise, or the dead should stir, we must be ready. Their lantern glows dully on the row of freshly dug pits, their edges crisp in the grass, each filled with rough-hewn planks waiting to receive another coffin. You join their vigil atop a low stone wall, looking out over the shrouded graves. Somewhere deep in the village, the church bell tolls once, slowly, then again after a long pause. You count the strokes, 10 o'clock. Outside each home, a white cross of chalk marks the doorway, the plague house. Within, families huddle in fear, praying against the invisible enemy. Occasionally a muffled sob drifts out, or a candle guttering with smoke. As the hour deepens, you close your eyes and listen. First comes a distant moan, barely audible, then a faint scuffle near one of the pits. A half-starved dog emerges from hedgerows, nosing among the fresh earth. It turns its head toward you, eyes glinting with a wild hunger, before slipping away into darkness. A shiver runs down your spine. Death draws near, yet life persists in strange, scavenging forms. The stroke of midnight. You stand and offer a prayer for the souls at rest. The diggers kneel beside you, heads bowed. The cold stone beneath your knees presses into your cloak, a reminder that soon you too may need this resting place. You murmur the words of the psalm. "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." Your voice cracks in the chill, but you persist, each phrase a shield against despair. When the prayer ends, you rise to your feet. One grave digger beckons you closer and draws a small knife to cut a sprig of monkshood, a plant both revered and feared for its poison lore. They tuck the sprig into their cap. "For courage," he says. You accept one also, feeling its cool, lacy leaves against your palm. Suddenly, a single lantern appears in the distance, approaching slowly along the lane. You grip your lantern tighter, alert. The figure draws near, a young friar carrying a half-empty vial of holy water and a cross bound in iron. He approaches the grave, dips a finger in the water, and flicks droplets onto the open earth. "May none rise," he intones in a voice soft yet resolute. Each drop hisses on the soil. His cross glows dimly in the lantern light, a beacon of faith in a night of dread. You resume your patrol around the perimeter, between the graves, past the mossy footstones, under the bare branches of an ancient yew. The diggers follow, each step measured and silent. You pass one of the chalked doors, a marker of death within, and kneel to bless it with a whispered prayer. No answer comes, only the sound of your own heartbeat and the layering crunch of gravel underfoot. Toward the east, the sky lightens ever so faintly, hinting at dawn. Yet the night seems to stretch on in protest. The church bell tolls again, this time 15 times, a warning that the watch draws to its end. You take one last look over the graves lit pale by lantern glow. The pits wait patiently, hungry for the next coming departure. The emptiness feels alive with potential dread. As you step away from the churchyard, you look back once more. A low wind stirs, whispering through the crosses. You cannot tell if it carries the sob of the dying or the promise of relief. Only that tomorrow dawn will find you both more weary and more determined. You tuck the monk's hood into your cloak and walk back toward the village, lanterns swinging gently before you, each step a vow to stand watch again on the next moonlit eve. As the first pale fingers of dawn touch the horizon, you find yourself standing on the crest of a low ridge overlooking the land you have traversed. The sky is a soft gradient, indigo melting into steel blue, then whispered pink at the edge. In the east, a sliver of the sun peaks above distant hills, gilding the dew-laden grass in trembling light. Birds begin to stir, their muffled calls heralding morning in delicate tones. You inhale deeply, filling your lungs with the cool, clear air of a world renewed. Every breath feels like a blessing after a night heavy with duty, wonder, and quiet contemplation. Grasses that felt damp and clinging in the darkness now sparkle like gemstones where the sun's rays touch them. A thin mist clings to the valleys below, drifting lazily as if reluctant to let go of its nocturnal vigil. Behind you lie the memories of torchlit halls, silent forests, and the hush of monastic chants. Before you stretches the road home, a ribbon of worn dirt winding through fields dappled in gold. With each step down the slope, the path seems to welcome you, the earth soft and kindly under your boots. In the quiet, you hear the distant hum of a village coming to life, the low clatter of shutters opening, Muted voices greeting the day, the clink of farming tools being fetched from sheds. The warm light reveals shapes half hidden in the dawn. A weathered handrail on a wooden fence, slick with dew. A wheelbarrow half filled with hay awaiting a caretaker's call. A thin plume of smoke curling from a cottage chimney where someone has already stoked the hearth. The world is waking gently around you, unhurried as though aware of the journey you have undertaken through the hush of night. Midway along the road, you pause by a small roadside shrine, a carved niche in a stone wall holding a simple crucifix. Someone has left fresh flowers, white daisies and sprigs of lavender tied with ribbon. You kneel and rest your palm on the cool stone, bowing your head in silent gratitude for a night both challenging and wondrous. Above, the crimson-streaked clouds reflect the glory of the newborn sun. You whisper a soft prayer for safe return to hearth and home, for the kindness of strangers met in darkness, and for the strength to carry the lessons of night into daylight's embrace. Continuing on, you pass fields where oxen plow in slow, methodical lines. The deep furrows in the earth catch the rosy glow of dawn, and the beasts' low grunts blend with the rhythmic creak of wooden yokes. The farmer lifts his gaze and tips his hat in greeting. You raise your hand in return, grateful for this final human kindness before your solitude resumes. Beyond the fields, a small wood of birch and ash awaits, its edge flickering with new light. The play of shadow and sun through leaves creates patterns on the path, dancing mosaics to guide your steps. As you enter the trees, the hush of the woods welcomes you again, but now with a different spirit. Morning birdsong replaces night's quiet chorus. Sunbeams pierce through the canopy, warming your face and the shoulder of your cloak. Somewhere up ahead, a squirrel scurries along a branch, stopping to regard you with bright eyes before bounding away. A gentle breeze carries the scent of pine and fresh sap, the forest's own benediction. You pause at the brook where you first crossed under starlight. Now, the water is clear and lively, laughing over stones in cheerful conversation. You kneel at the bank and cup your hands, drinking the cold, sweet water, an elixir as pure as the dawn itself. In the ripples you glimpse the reflection of the sky unfolding above, and for an instant, you feel the seamless unity of earth, water, and light. Climbing the final rise, the cottage you left at dusk comes into view. Smoke curls gently from its chimney, and the garden gate stands open as if awaiting your return. A lantern on the porch is extinguished now, its task complete. You approach the door and pause at the threshold, your cloak heavy with the sense of night's journey. Wood smoke, damp earth, candle wax, brimstone of the forge, incense of prayers, and the sweet ache of wheat fields. Inside, the hearth is bright, and a kettle sings softly on the hearthstone. A figure emerges from the back room, family or friend, eyes shining with relief and affection. They offer you a hand, and you accept it with warmth. The door closes softly on the morning world. You set aside your cloak and gently remove the worn boots, peering first at the scuffed leather, then at the bright faces around you. They listen as you share a few quiet words of night's wonders, the hush of monastic chant, the shimmer of stars on a silent river, the solemn oaths in the great hall, the grim vigil in the plague-swept churchyard, and the hush of dawn's first light. Their eyes grow wide with awe as the tale unfolds, yet their voices remain hushed, as though they too feel the sacred hush of those hours. Soon, you are seated at a rough-hewn table laden with fresh bread, salted butter, and a mug of warm ale or sweet honeyed milk. Each bite and sip feels like a benediction, grounding you back in the day's simple pleasures. Yet even now, as you partake in comfort, you carry within you the gentle lessons of the night. Patience in darkness, vigilance in stillness, and the quiet power of compassion and courage when the world sleeps. Your eyelids grow heavy with restful sleep's final approach. The room dims at the edges, and the voices around you soften. You lean back in your chair and breathe deeply, feeling the comfort of home wrap around you like a second cloak. Every sound, the crackle of the fire, the murmur of loved ones, the wind in the chimney, becomes part of a lullaby. At last, you stand and retreat to your chamber. The door closes with a soft click behind you. You slip between clean linens, each fold cool and welcoming. The world outside grows brighter, but here, under the blankets, You rest in the gentle gloom. You feel the weight of the night's journey lift as sleep beckons. In the quiet, you drift off, carrying with you the hush of medieval nights, the promise of dawn's embrace, and the knowledge that peace can be found in every hour, no matter how dark, so long as one walks with heart and purpose. Now, as your journey through the hush of medieval night draws to its gentle close, rest settles upon you like a soft woolen cloak. Beneath the quiet roof of your own slumber, the world renews itself in silence. Each memory of torches guttering on cold stone, lanterns guiding lone travelers, and chanted prayers echoing in vaulted halls mingles into a single tapestry of calm. Carry with you the steadfast resolve of the knight on his midnight watch, the whispered vows in the great hall, the peaceful chant of the monastery, and the tender solace of the village hearth. Remember the river of stars reflected on black water, and the sleeping moor that held its secrets in the night. Feel the unity of earth and sky in dawn's soft breath, the promise that every darkness gives way to light. Let your final breath be slow and full, as if drawing in both night and morning at once. Sink into the embrace of your bed, knowing that you have traversed hidden corridors of history and emerged unscathed, bearing the quiet courage of countless souls who have stood watch before you. There is no more to seek, no more to guard. Only rest, only the gentle hush of dreams. May your sleep be as deep and steadfast as the stones of an ancient keep, your dreams as vivid as moonlit forests, and your waking as serene as dawn on the moor. Good night, and may peace keep your heart in its silent vigil until morning's gentle song.